injury attorneys at The Advocates can't actually prevent you from being in a cycling accident, they will be by your side to support you following your accident. Our legal services won't cost you a dime out of pocket. So when you need an injury attorney, call us. We're The Advocates, your Utah personal injury attorneys. You didn't deserve to be in an accident, but you do deserve an advocate.
This is The Monty Show, the truth in sports talk streaming. When you want unbiased opinions about your favorite team without the spin, all you have to do is find The Monty Show, streaming live and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube. And now, here's Monty.
Hey, The Monty Show. GCal accepted and everything. How the heck are you? As always, we're presented by The Monty.
This is The Monty Show, the truth in sports talk streaming. When you want unbiased opinions about your favorite team without the spin, all you have to do is find The Monty Show, streaming live and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube. And now, here's Monty.
Hi, The Monty Show, as always, presented by The Advocates. TheAdvocates.com, the best injury attorneys in the business, where you never pay out of pocket to get the best representation possible when you've been in an accident. Folks, it wasn't your fault that semi-truck hit you. It wasn't your fault that car hit you while you were riding your bike or that you got hurt at work. No, friends. It's not your fault you got hurt, but you deserve an advocate who will fight for you and get you what you deserve. Go get it right now. TheAdvocates.com, where you never pay a penny out of pocket to talk to an attorney. In fact, you can chat with an attorney live 24/7, 365, and it won't cost you a dime at TheAdvocates.com. Good morning to you. Appreciate you guys all being here. Of course, the ACC Conference gives us more fodder. And after we do some shout-outs, I'm just going to ask you, who the is Pete Cordelli? Like 10 people DM'd me this. But I say, hello, OG Gary. Good to see you. Mountain Mama. Mikkel, my name is Mike Chase. Hello.
Mike.
Caps Lock Friday Coug. Pete Forte. Hello. Jay Brannon.
Wow.
513 Bearcat. Matt Ritson. Duke is Duke. Duke is Duke.
Yeah, Duke is Duke.
Hello, Dakota. Good to see you sometimes.
Dakota.
Occasionally. Dakota. Lamont Tucker, always good to see you.
So, dude.
Always good to see you. Eric in Durham, is this confirmed or is it just locked on Big 12 fodder? Well, for once, that is some cold-blooded stuff. For once, it is not locked on Big 12 making up a bunch of BS.
Right.
But is Duke leaving the ACC Conference? I think we've had a ton of this lately, and I guess I should not be surprised. But enough of you DM'd me links to this story, if it is that. And I think it's very interesting the way now people in the ACC are so thirsty for anything to happen that all we're doing now is taking any story that sounds even remotely interesting and turning it into facts. And my struggle with this is, do we talk about this as a show, or do we just blow it off as an old man who probably wants to still be coaching football but is not, went on a radio station in Nashville and blew off steam? Because that's what this feels like to me. And again, I think, as we've talked about ad nauseum, the situation in the ACC is very volatile. There's no doubt about that. But when you look at Duke's situation uniquely and specifically Duke, we've talked about on this show, our sources have told us for months now that the Big 12 has had significant conversations with Duke, but also with North Carolina, the Virginias. The Big 12 has aggressively reached out through back channels and relationships to most members of the ACC, and that is not a surprise. What is the surprise is now you have somebody that has, I don't know, is some modicum of respectability. Is that the right way to say it? Pete Cordelli, a former kind of football coach. He's most known for his time at Notre Dame in the 90s. He went on a Nashville radio station and said this.
It was my understanding that there's going to be a new ACC, and Jim Phillips, the commissioner, has been talking. It looks like they may reconfigure the ACC to be 8 teams. And the saber rattling that's gone on with Florida State, with Clemson, and now North Carolina, to be honest, they've been looking for a year. One of the things was, were they going to the SEC? Were they going to Big Ten? What are they doing? I think Jim Phillips, in this latest meeting in Florida, we're going to see a slim down ACC to keep their status.
What sense does that make? What sense does that make? So just a couple of questions right off the top from old man Cordelli. A slim down ACC with 8 teams. And the idea is you're trying to keep Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina. You're trying to placate them. So do you think you can placate them with an 8-team league that will make significantly less money? The answer is no, you cannot. Because with a slimmed down league comes far less respect and far less currency in the ranking systems, and certainly in the college football playoff. Jake, this makes very little sense to me, if any sense at all.
And I think that the biggest thing that you know, like, that I take away from what this guy said is just the way he's saying it and the lack of detail in it. Like, all I hear here is, hey, yeah, you know, Jim Phillips may have said or may not have said that, you know, that maybe the league could do this or do that, right? Okay, cool. Like, I can tell you that this guy over here you've never heard of said X, Y, and Z. That doesn't make it true. And I think that the reason that I would say that this is not true is much to what he said, but just overall, like, it doesn't make sense. You wouldn't put yourself in a position as a conference, given the position you're already in. You wouldn't make that worse by saying, yeah, you know what? We're going to go ahead and cut these teams. You know, hey, Calford, we're going to need you to head back to the West Coast. SMU, yeah, we're going to need you to keep working on that pipeline to Texas that never existed. And then everybody else who's not a college football playoff contender or isn't in the tournament every year, yeah, you're going to have to leave our league too. By the way, just quick question. So let's say that they do, quote unquote, cut teams out of the ACC. How's that going to work with your TV partners? How's that going to work with the grant of rights? Are you now paying those schools what's owed? You're telling me now that if you want to cut schools, a conference is going to negotiate their early exit fee and what, reimburse them? Like, this is not going to happen. You can't. It doesn't work this way. And for that reason alone, that's why I think this is a bunch of nothing. Because ultimately, that's not how business is done in college football. You don't just say to whatever team is on your grant of rights that you don't like because they don't earn revenue that now they no longer have a spot in your conference. I got news for you. You signed a grant of rights through 2036, which is the other thing that nobody seems to want to talk about in this interview that this guy did. He didn't even know how long the ACC grant of rights was. His guess was 2033, I think. And that's just not correct. It's 2036. Like, you have to know the situation to be able to speak on it. So everybody's freaking out over this interview. Everyone's saying, oh my God, you know, the ACC is going to burn to the ground and do something we've never seen before. And for me, it's much to do about absolutely nothing, because the ACC and any conference, what we could be talking about, the SEC, hell, we could be talking about the Mountain West.
And my biggest question is, if you remove Duke and Wake and Syracuse, and what does this do to your basketball revenue? Like, this is, again, to my point, this feels like an old dog howling at the wind. That's what this feels like. And in all seriousness, Pete Cordelli, I don't know why he has a weekly spot in Nashville, but hey, more power to you. I'm telling you that if Duke leaves the ACC will be done.
Yeah.
The ACC is done. Duke and North Carolina, again, I will say, are the heartbeat of the ACC. You look at what inexplicably Dabo Sweeney continues to say about NIL and the portal, and that he does not like and does not embrace NIL and the portal. That's the stuff that's hurting the ACC. It is this constant flow of BS and half-truths that is crippling this league. Nothing that Pete Cordelli said there is credible. Nothing that Pete Cordelli said there is helpful. The only thing Pete Cordelli did yesterday was damage the ACC further.
Mhm.
And that's what continues to happen. This league's never going back to 8 teams. It's one of the dumbest things I have ever heard. And the idea that ACC fans are so rabid for information that you're all running and DMing us on this is crazy to me, because the world is laughing at you. And I will beat the drum of basketball revenue being significantly more important than anybody wants to talk about. You look at how this NIL settlement, which yesterday the D1 Council approved the original settlement, which means that the NCAA is going to cut distribution to major conferences and universities. Where do you think that money is coming from? What is the number one revenue generator for the NCAA? Well, that'd be the NCAA tournament, which now is likely going to pay the lion's share of these NIL settlements. And these schools are going to suffer because of it. Should those in the ACC be looking for an off-ramp? Yeah, maybe. Sure, if that's what you feel like, Florida State, Clemson, Carolina, Duke, okay, great. I understand that you're upset. We're going to talk about Big Ten and SEC revenue today. You should be upset if you are not making half of what they're making. I totally understand that. But the idea that the ACC would cut teams like Wake, Syracuse, and Duke to go back to 8 to give Carolina, Clemson, and Duke, or Carolina, Clemson, and Florida State more revenue makes absolutely no sense. It makes no sense. This guy's wiping his ass with his left hand and drawing artwork in the remnants in his right.
Mhm.
Like, that's what this is. This is a guy. I don't understand it. And I know I say this all the time, but I wish fans were smarter than this. I wish people had more ability to say, that's ridiculous. I'm not going to put that on every message board that I pay $7 a month to and start a wildfire. Like, I wish that's not how this game played out.
But you're right. I mean, the ACC fan is absolutely thirsty for something to happen.
Desperate.
And that's what surprises me a bit too about the situation is like, we obviously saw this a bit in the Pac-12 situation, right? Like, Oregon State fan was just so like up and down with like the news cycle and the Pac-12 thing. And like, we saw that a bit, but this feels a little bit different. This feels like ACC fan just wants action and doesn't really care whether that action, leads to them getting to greener pastures or whether that action just means they're staying in the conference. Like, they just want something to happen, to which I say, hey, this particular interview, and again, not making it personal, but just going off of what we know, going off of what makes sense based on how business works in this situation.
Right.
It is truly, when I first heard this interview, my first reaction was, this is a radio show and a guest both trying to get some pub. That's all this is.
And it worked.
And it did work. Yeah, give him credit. It did work. Absolutely, it worked. And that's what you have to be able to kind of read between the lines on and understand. Like, you notice, and you can go and find the interview. It's all over X. But you can tell when someone actually has people telling them something. And in this interview, he didn't have people telling him something, because if he did, he wouldn't be hesitating and trying to come up with words like saber rattling and like, you were just trying hard, and I get it, I understand it, but in no way, shape, or form are we going to see a conference cut teams out of the conference to reroute revenue. Why do you think? And if they were going to cut teams, I might just add this too. Why would they have what did they call it, the Success Initiative or whatever, where they're paying schools on an individual basis more money the further they go in the tournament? Why would they do that if they were going to just cut, if the plan was just cut the bottom feeders out?
I think it's one of those things where you just have to separate it. And here's what we know about the ACC. They're very vulnerable. This very much feels like what was going on in the Pac-12. This very much feels like, hey, every conference in this country, every conference commissioner in this country is calling every one of your members saying, hey, look how green our pastures are. Which is exactly what was happening in the Pac-12. And it's why the Big Ten went so far out of their way to say, hey, we don't want to be seen as the Raiders of the Pac-12. And I totally understand that. This feels like that. I can also tell you Duke and Carolina are a package. They're not going anywhere without the other.
Yeah.
I don't know what ultimately happens with NC State. There seems to be a significant rift in methodology between North Carolina and North Carolina State. Maybe there always has been, and maybe there always will be. But it does not feel like to me, based on the people that we've spoken to about it, that those two are tied at the hip. And I think it goes down almost just like Arizona and Arizona State, who were on completely opposite ends of the spectrum when the chips came down in the Pac-12. And Arizona State wanted to stay in the Pac-12, and Arizona said, nah, we're leaving no matter what. And the Arizona Board of Regents backed them in that.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at North Carolina and North Carolina State. They're not tied at the hip. I look at Duke and North Carolina. They know they have leverage as one. And I think those two are going to stay together no matter what. And I think ultimately they end up in the Big Ten. I think the Big 12 would bend the knee in any way, shape, or form they were told to get Duke and Carolina in their conference. Not going to happen.
Right.
I don't see that happening unless something completely changes. But again, I tell you that I don't believe there's any way that, especially if you're Stanford and Cal, and I guess to a lesser extent SMU, but I don't see any way that you just sign on to this grant of rights for the next 78 seasons and the ACC is going to turn around and be like, yeah, you guys kick rocks.
How does that work, dude? Someone's getting paid in that instance, and it's not going to be the SEC, or it's not going to be the ACC.
And you understand that then you have to go back to the TV networks and unwind the amended contract you just made less than a year ago. How do you think ESPN is going to react to that when their deal with the ACC no longer has a Western front, and their deal with the ACC no longer includes? Do you really think ESPN's just going to let Duke and Carolina walk to the Big Ten and not have any access to Duke and Carolina basketball?
Nope.
Not have any way to have that game on their network, Duke versus Carolina, 3 times a season. I don't see ESPN doing that. I don't see them doing that. Why would you?
Yeah, you wouldn't. I think, ESPN is not stupid. And I think, in a time when, ESPN is moving, obviously to direct to consumer, now more than ever, you need things like Duke and Carolina. You need, the pinnacle of sporting events as much as you can get them. And that's why I say, like, it really stands out. Like, when you listen to someone talk about college football, let's just call it realignment, if you will, for a broad label. When you hear someone talk about realignment and they don't know anything about like how a TV contract works, they don't even know when the grant of rights goes to.
They don't know the difference between a grant of rights and a TV contract.
Like we talked about that too. That's a good point. Like you can tell the people who are in this daily and who understand the minutia of it, how a TV contract and a grant of rights work off of each other and kind of power grab each other, and how that works inside of a conference. And I don't know. We haven't had, go out and get the spotlight type interview in a little while. And
Feels like that.
I guess I shouldn't be surprised because obviously, it's the East Coast,
It's Nashville.
It's Nashville. Like, you understand it. But it's just a ridiculous thing to say that the ACC is going to be out here cutting teams. Like, come on.
We'll play it one more time for you before it dies. A hopefully painful, slow, methodical, what a jackwagon death. Pete Cordelli on the Bill King Show.
It was my understanding that there's going to be a new ACC, and Jim Phillips, the commissioner, has been talking. It looks like they may reconfigure the ACC to be 8 teams. And the saber rattling that's gone on with Florida State, with Clemson, and now North Carolina, to be honest, they've been looking for a year. One of the things was, were they going to the SEC? Were they going to Big Ten? What are they doing? I think Jim Phillips, in this latest meeting in Florida, we're going to see a slim down ACC to keep their status.
A slim down ACC to keep their status.
And what status would that be, sir?
Yeah, I'm curious. What status would that be?
Oh, what are you talking about, man?
I just, yeah, there you go. There it is. Let me just throw it out to you guys, like I threw it out to your mom. That didn't work. It didn't roll.
It is. Yeah,
Do you buy this? Do you believe this? I'm telling you again, I don't buy it. I don't believe it. I don't think there's any truth to it. The idea that North Carolina would stay in the ACC without Duke, just from a basketball perspective, is wild to me. But hey, I'm just little old Monty over here.
Monty.
Hey, Monty. So let's see where you guys come down on this. Steve Stepanek, hello. Is this a way for the ACC to implode? I don't think so. If the ACC wants to implode, they've got 10 members to do it.
Yeah.
Because, again, you need, by all accounts, you need a majority rule. So you'd need 10. Let's count Duke, Carolina, Clemson, and Florida State. I think you can put the Virginias in there. That's 6 right there. I think you can put Miami in there. That's 7. North Carolina State makes 8. And you put Louisville and Notre Dame would be the topper on that because Notre Dame's not staying in a league without the other 8. I think that's the 10 that would be out. So I think if it's going to implode, that's the way it will happen. It's not going to be Jim. Can you imagine Jim Phillips after all these lawsuits? Yeah, guys. Okay. Florida State, you were right the whole time. We're going to kick Duke out and give you their money.
Pack everything up. We're out of here.
And can you imagine Florida State being like, all right, cool. So wait, let me get this right, Jim. You're going to give us Duke's money, Jimmy, but we're going to be in a league that won't have Wake Forest and won't have Syracuse and won't have Duke. And we're Florida State, who's actually got a pretty solid basketball program. So our basketball revenue is going to be significantly diminished. Yeah. Sounds great, huh? No, I don't think so. Salty Virginia peanuts.
Nuts.
Conferences are getting bigger, not smaller. Kicking teams out is a bad way to try and survive. Yes. Mountain Mama, I think if they had to do it over, they would now. But that ship has sailed. They would now. Okay. ACC never wanted. Well, West Virginia should have gone to the ACC. Let's not.
That would have been a better fit.
Let's not confuse that. Eric and Raleigh, the dude in the clip you played is clearly high. Reefer is widely available.
Is a hell of a drug.
I'm just saying. Steve Stepanek, my friend, hope you are well. Phil, it's the Biggie 10 too. Yeah, they're calling it the Biggie 10. It's just wild to me, but it's fine. Phil Fenzer, hello. I can't wait till the P4 collapse because of greed.
which I think is a reasonable conversation to be having. I think
you guys want to you want to talk about greed? You want to have your mind blown? Let this blow your mind. This is what greed looks like. Do you guys know what this represents? This represents the Big Ten being a cash cow. Sportico. The balls on Sportico. So most of you probably do not understand that as a charitable corporation, when you are set up legally with the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS, as a C3 charity, we make a ton of money and keep it for ourselves. Did you guys know that you can go to any charitable organization set up like that, and you can walk in the front door and you can say, we want to see your tax disclosures, and they have to give them to you on the spot?
Jeez.
Did you guys know that? Well, apparently the Big Ten knew that, because Sportico walked in the front door the other day because the Big Ten was hemming and hawing about disclosing their tax documents. Sportico decided to head for Chicago, walked in the front door at the Big Ten and was like, hey, we want to see your documents. And the Big Ten said, okay, sure, here they are. What do you guys think of these numbers? This is revenue. How about $880 million for the Big Ten in fiscal year 2023?
I thought you said 800.
I said 880
mil.
I said 880 million dollars.
Man, Connor Stalions had a good year.
How about the SEC? Oh man, they're struggling at $850 million according to Sportico. So when we talk about the Super League, would it blow anybody's mind if a year from now these two were over $1 billion each?
No.
That would not surprise me at all.
Not even a little bit.
I mean, if you, bro,
like that's like an unfathomable amount of money, bro. Like that's so much money.
That's what we're talking about. And now you want to go ahead and make the argument that this league right here, oh yeah, Monty, let's cut this league down to 8 teams and compete with the Big Ten or the
right.
SEC.
Seems right. Seems proper.
Yeah, I'm Pete Cordelli. I don't know dick. That's never happening. You guys, I said
they're
that
going to cut down the ACC. And you know what the best part is? They're going to do this to keep their status.
I said $880 million.
How exactly
are
you keeping your status by being at 8 teams when the two homies over here are working on a bill each?
Now, let me point some things out for you. This does not include the new TV deal. This does not include the new members of the conference. This does not
so they're
include,
definitely going to be over $1 billion.
This does not include the national championship won by Free Harbaugh. They're going to be over $1 billion next year.
Yeah.
You understand that, right? You understand that this money, they distributed $60 million to each of its members, with Maryland and Rutgers earning slightly less because they're newer members. They also spent $5 million in legal fees and $440,000 on lobbying. The highest paid employee, Jim Delaney, the former commissioner, made $5.8 million. Kevin Warren received $3.7 million, and then on top of that, got a bonus for negotiating the TV deal. Sportico previously reported the Big Ten, ACC, Big 12, and Pac-12 had been planning to release their tax filings together at the end of next week. The Big Ten agreed to release it Monday after Sportico walked in and flopped it on the counter.
Yeah.
How gangster is Sportico?
Yeah, that's pretty, dude, that's the folks at Sportico knowing business.
The fiscal year, and I want to make sure that you guys understand, they made $880 million. The final 12 months of the Big Ten's previous broadcast rights deal before it signed a 7-year, $7 billion deal.
But Monty, listen.
7
Cordelli,
years and seven. I said that's $1 billion a year.
Stay hard.
$1 billion a year.
Monty, we can cut down to 8 teams and get to 800
Monty, it's Pete
mil.
Cordelli here.
Come on, Monty.
I don't know shit.
Monty, his Bucky's pulled pork sandy consumption is at an all-time high. Give him some slack.
I
thought you said $1 bill each, bro. Come on.
Before they made $880 million before the new TV deal kicked in.
Dude.
Can I get some of whatever that is? Because I need to be that.
Listen, I'm gonna need some people to reach out for me and try to get me a weekly radio spot so I can just try stuff on that radio spot. I'm gonna need that. Come on, dude.
God damn.
Like
before the $1 billion deal, they made almost $1 billion.
Crap, dude. And then
tough.
folks like Val Ackerman have the Bulls to come out yesterday and say that they're paying too much. Come on now.
But I think it is an interesting question.
My God.
Should the Big Ten and the SEC, because this is what we do in this country. We try to
shame the rich,
demonize the rich.
Yeah.
Should the Big Ten and the SEC have to pay more? And I say absolutely not. Is it their fault that they earned more? No. This is what we should be celebrating in this country, but we don't. That's before the $1 billion TV deal.
Staggering number. And again, the idea that's each conference, dude, that's not combined.
It's wild to me.
It's a staggering number.
It is wild to me.
And I do agree. I have to say, it's a very good point. The Sportico thing, them having the as Marshawn would say, the mentals to think about, hey, this is how IRS code works. We can just walk in here and get this stuff. That's pretty brilliant. Like, we don't see that in reporting too much. So
I agree.
They deserve a lot of credit for that.
I agree. I find it interesting. And a friend of mine who works in sports radio says, and we wonder why sports radio is broken. I don't. It sucks. Right?
Dude.
Right? And that's as concise as I can put. Sports radio is terrible.
It sucks.
It's terrible. UW fan Jim Romadunze, when I hear crazy news, the Monty Show is the place to sort it out. We try. Christopher Shannon, hello. Kick out Boston College, Syracuse, completely useless. I mean, those fucking guys, what have they ever done for us? Well, they put Matt Ryan in the NFL. Who cares? Ask Tom Brady how good Matt Ryan is. Well, I mean, Jim Boeheim. He ran a guy over. That's a good point, sir.
Well, my foot just slipped. It is what it is.
Well, listen. Donovan McNabb played at Syracuse. Yeah, he threw up on the field.
Fact.
Again, I'm not saying you're wrong.
Monty, he was just fertilizing the 50-yard line.
I mean, what about Coleman at Syracuse? Lefty and I'm sorry, I thought you said completely useless. Derek Coleman. Who has thought of Derek Coleman lately? Me either. But do I get no credit for pulling Derek Coleman?
Yeah.
You don't even know who the fuck Derek Coleman is.
Nope.
No. So, yeah, you're right. Again, I just have 4 little numbers. 1993.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know. Was Cordelli as crappy at Notre Dame as he is in Nashville now?
Bro, chill.
Okie Light James.
Oh.
Stadium guru who loves Buc-ee's. I believe that's the title of his channel. The Super League will solve all the problems. I just did a 3rd video on it.
Wow.
I'll release number 4 today. 8 divisions of 10 teams just makes sense. It could. I don't disagree. Dude has Bill Belichick hair.
That's what I'm saying, right? But he does. He really does. The comb over.
Oh, that's
the comb
amazing.
over is totally a Bill Belichick style.
Okay,
cut.
now but I don't want to play the bite again. Do you just have okay, God damn it. See, why am I always the one who's got to go Google searching dudes in their forearms?
Here, I got you.
Pete Cordelli. I don't even know how to spell his name. Pete Cordelli. Oh, he does
that
have
one. That's the one I'm trying.
He does have Belichick vibes. Yes,
he does.
Sir Bob
Dude,
Lobb
are you
nailed it.
kidding?
Nailed it. He does. Okay, put it over here. Jake is trying to like airdrop me pictures of Bill Belichick. Weirdo. How do you have Bill Belichick on airdrop?
I don't.
Oh, sorry. That was Pete Cordelli. You were saying picture of Pete Cordelli. My bad. Here's Bill Belichick. Does Bill look like Pete Cordelli? I don't have a picture of Pete Cordelli, but here's Bill Oh, wait, that is Pete Cordelli? Okay, they're telling me in my ear that is Pete Cordelli.
Yeah, we're not making any changes.
Really, really close. Like, I mean, it's almost like Jordan and Anthony Edwards. I could be wrong. Or Jimmy Butler. Anyway, the point is
3 ladies a night, every night. Dude.
Michael Jordan.
Macaque.
Dude, there was nobody that guarded like Michael Jordan.
Dude, Buddy went hard in the paint, dude.
Two Masters. The disillusion theory is dead in the water. Disillusion of what? Disillusion of the ACC? I don't think it's ever been likely. I think this NIL, how do I say this? The unintended consequences I always talk about with this stuff. This NIL settlement, we're not done with lawsuits over the NIL settlement. No. I guarantee you Val Ackerman and the Big East have lawyers on speed dial, even though they're crying poor. So who's suing first over this? Who's suing the NCAA to not have to pay their fair share? Even though it's in the contracts, even though it's in the charter.
Well, the problem is the G5 can't sue because if they lose, they don't have the money. Right? They probably don't have the money to pay for the lawyers anyway.
Fuck, they couldn't even give San Diego State their pro rep. Never mind. My point is,
I'm not talking about that.
Yeah, but these are far from done. I think we won't know about the ACC until we have a clear picture of the unintended consequences of the NIL settlement. That's
totally.
I can't see a clear at this point today. And what is today? May the 4th be with you. May 21st. I can't see a path forward to a resolution of the ACC situation. I think you throw the NIL stuff in there. I think you throw the Clemson, North Carolina, and the only thing that Mr. Belichick, Pete Belichick said there that I thought made any sense was that North Carolina's been trying to unwind their watch for over a year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right. We told you that on the show.
Just saying.
I think we don't know what the final thread, right? Because I think we can all agree. The ACC is this sweater that everybody's been pulling threads out of. And somebody's going to pull a thread. And my guess is it's going to be Duke and Carolina, because I'll continue to tell you that the ACC lives and dies on Tobacco Road. You don't have to like it. And I always get hateful comments when we say it.
Yeah, they're a package deal.
Duke's overrated. Okay, great. They're overrated. They are the lifeblood, along with Carolina, of the ACC conference. It's not Tallahassee.
Nah.
It's not built my program on Jesus Christ, who never took a dime of NIL money, so why would we pay
in God's name, image, and likeness?
And not to go too deep on Dabo,
we built this program on NIL.
But do you understand how broke this guy is? Do you understand how bad for the ACC Dabo Sweeney is?
It's probably different than what you're thinking, though.
Nobody wants to talk about that. They just want to talk about the pro rata Clemson thinks they deserve.
Right. Keyword being thinks.
Now, call me crazy. Maybe if Dabo was in the portal and embracing, I don't know, the current culture of college athletics, maybe you would have won another national championship, because nobody's a better coach than Mr. NIL Jesus Christ.
Right.
The problem with Dabo is he wants it done his way, which is why Nick Saban retired.
And which is why he hasn't had a quarterback since 5 had left for the NFL.
And why Mike Gundy won't win. you don't have, and I think sometimes in life we like to romanticize shit and who we are.
Right.
You don't have a choice. You don't have a choice because you no longer have your thumb on the high school junior who's desperate for an offer letter. Now they have the thumb on you. And this conference, the ACC, has so much flawed theology, and they all think that they are the top of the mountain, Mom, and they're not. Is there any better example of that than Miami, the University of,
Right,
who is a train wreck? And when I say a train wreck, they're a freight train wreck. And yet they think somehow they have any kind of leverage.
and I think that, again, when we talk about reporting, the idea that the ACC is going to cut their conference down to 8 teams to feed more money to Miami, you're out of your mind. What has Miami done? What consequence?
Why would Florida State agree to? Why would that make Florida State happier than they are now?
It wouldn't. It would not. Because the assertion is, hey, we're going to cut this conference down to 8 teams, and we're then going to reroute the money. Hey, here's the problem with that, Slick. The money's not going to be there.
It makes me crazy. Just like when you guys come in here and you don't hit the like button, it makes me crazy. Please hit the like button. Please.
Yeah, come on. Be better, dude.
Yeah, give me the pro rata this show deserves. Hit the like button right here on the Monty Show. Let's get to more of your comments. Mike Smith, sounds like the floated an air biscuit instead. Okay.
I'm not real sure what that means.
Listen, I don't judge you for drinking this early in the morning. Sir Bob Lob says papers, please. Yeah, gangster. I don't know why I knew that, but I knew that if you're a 401c3 charitable organization, I can walk in your front door and say, I'd like to see your financial disclosures.
Yeah, cough it up.
And they have to say yes. You can be stripped of your charitable status. Now, you have to have balls behind you. If you walk in there and you're just Jake and you're like, give me your disclosures, and they're like, fuck out of here.
Yeah.
You better have a law firm ready to drop papers in court that day.
Yeah, where's Harvey Specter?
Right? Seriously. Sportico's got that. Sportico's got that. And I that's how you do business.
Correct.
Two Master says SEC. Okay. Who gets to $1 billion first, the SEC or the Big Ten? The Big Ten, because they've got the TV money hammer.
There's no, yeah,
but we're overlooking something. The SEC now has Tarrant County.
How did we?
The Omni Hotel, dude. They've got the Omni Hotel. The SEC.
You know what's funny? That's hilarious that got brought up. This show where this interview was done has a spot every Tuesday or Monday for this interview at an Omni Hotel.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah.
I think the Big Ten gets there first. I would be surprised.
Yeah,
I would be really surprised.
Well, and again, I can't believe nobody's pointing this out, because if you remember earlier in the show, we said, hey, like, we got a bunch of people who reached out to us on this, like, sent us this story, like, repeatedly. Monty, dude, the ACC is going to get cut down, man.
I was at Buc-ee's, and some guy who's married to a Baylor fan was just going on. He was standing in front of the soda machine, mixing up the different flavors of Mountain Dew. Topped it off with some cherry Dr. Pepper, which I got to tell you was pretty damn good.
Mixmaster James.
Never here nor there. Anyway, he was talking about, one day he was talking to Mike Gundy, and I guess he combs the lice out of Gundy's mullet. I mean, who am I to judge? But he was telling me, listen, man, I was knuckle deep, and he was giving me this information about So I thought I would just DM you guys.
So let me get this right.
It's not how it happened.
You're elbow deep in a conversation with Mike Gundy, and you didn't think to say to yourself, well, Monty, how is it that they're going to cut teams and keep the money?
No, what you didn't think to yourself was, bro, I'm an elbow deep. What happened to me? How did I get here? I'm Oak State James, and I comb lice out of Coach Gundy's hair.
Yeah, in the comments section, what do you guys elbow deep in these days?
Okay,
what's your
stop!
what's your
Why?
cup of tea?
That's right, T.
I'm elbow
Why?
deep in golf. That's what I'm elbow
I'm
deep
sure
in.
that's not what your elbow.
What?
Your girlfriend came back home last night.
What?
I'm sure that's not what your elbow deep in. The Big Ten gets big money because teams like Michigan and Ohio State draw 5 million viewers per football game. What about Purdue and, Minnesota?
Well, in Indiana, I mean, come on.
Yeah, the Hoosiers.
Yeah, I mean, dude, prolific on the football field. I mean, you want to talk about covering the under?
Yeah. Sir Bob Lop, 90s sports radio was the pinnacle. Yes,
100%.
it was. And I miss, you know what I miss? I had a great radio career.
Mm-hmm.
Ranked number one in great market. Like, there's something about sitting in front of a microphone when you've got the hammer. And I can tell you, I've had the great fortune of being in that situation a lot, and that doesn't exist anymore. Doesn't exist anymore.
Quick side note that I thought was interesting yesterday. Jim Rome.
Adunze.
No. This is the actual Jim Rome, the host.
Oh, okay.
It announced yesterday that he will be live streaming his show to X starting next week, which I think the only reason I bring this up is I think that's a major shift in the industry.
Huge shift in the industry. And Jim Rome, Jesus. 3 months ago? 4 months ago?
Yeah.
After the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
His last show on CBS Sports Radio and CBS Sports TV was, I want to say, the Friday of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. Yeah, in February.
And he announced that he was taking his show to Twitter. And it never happened. And so he wasn't on TV, not getting video distribution.
Still
and
on Sirius, though.
On Sirius and on his radio show.
Yeah.
Because he has a nationally distributed radio show.
Right.
He announced yesterday, I think it was on Twitter, that he starts live streaming on X next week.
Yeah. I believe next Tuesday.
Just out of the blue.
Yeah.
So the weirdest thing
like
ever.
Rebranded the studio, the whole thing. And I think it's really interesting, like that. I don't know. I think this is where the industry needs to go.
I agree.
I think that I don't know why it's taken so long for radio professionals. And again, since that change happened for him, I haven't listened to Jim.
Haven't seen him once.
Haven't seen him literally not one time. And I just saw it pop up and I was like, oh, it's happening.
Did you hear about, speaking of which, did you hear about Pat McAfee getting looped into a lawsuit with Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Gee, I mean, is the guy ever not in trouble?
And I think this is kind of part and parcel of this conversation about the quality or lack thereof of sports talk radio. It's really interesting to me that Marvin Harrison Jr., if you guys don't know the story, Marvin Harrison Jr. is being sued by Fanatics because he signed a term sheet, not a contract, a term sheet, and then took the term sheet and shopped it around to try and make more money on his name, image, and likeness.
Mm-hmm.
So the story goes that Fanatics has deals with college athletes. I mean, a ton of them. They sign them to 4-year deals so that when they get to the NFL, they can sign their NFLPA contract, which the NFLPA controls your name, image, and likeness.
Right.
So in college, Marvin Harrison never signed that contract with Fanatics. He signed a term sheet, which Fanatics says is legally binding. So then why didn't Marvin Harrison sign a deal with the NFLPA to sell his jersey, trading cards, be in a video game? Oh, because he was trying to leverage Fanatics for more money. And then allegedly leaked it to the Pat McAfee show, who then leaked it on ESPN, which spurred, allegedly, Fanatics to file a lawsuit and include Pat McAfee's name in it. and accuse Marvin Harrison Jr. of allegedly using Pat McAfee to spread disinformation and damage the Fanatics brand.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's a huge shit show.
To which I say, how has this not happened to Pat before? Because he's done a lot of things like this, and he's never been sued before.
I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I would love to. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that it's
and for
silly.
those of us that I'm 51, right? I graduated high school in 91. I was born in 73. Sex machine, right?
Right.
For those of us that remember sports radio, for those of us that remember the day the Score in Chicago launched, and the Mike North and the Dan Jiggets of the world, and you remember FAN in New York, which I think is still one of the great radio stations in this country. Being on the radio in San Francisco at KMBR, like, that's the radio I remember. I remember Larry Lujak in Chicago. Whatever this is now, unprepared hosts that don't know the facts, can't ask questions, don't do interviews.
Like, how are you going to do an interview about college football realignment and not know that the ACC's, grant of rights with its member institutions goes to 2036? Like, you're literally out here guessing.
I don't
like,
know.
how do you not know that? And then how do you furthermore then roll out a take where it's like, oh, they're going to cut teams and they're going to reroute the money. They're going to reorganize the ACC. They're going to reformat it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it just lacks all information and perspective. And so yesterday we get all these DMs and then the Jim Rome thing comes out. And I'm just like, dude, like Jim is not for everybody. And Pat is certainly not for everybody.
No.
But I do think that when Pat McAfee is dominant in the way he's dominant, and what I mean is the numbers he does would suggest he is dominant, it's because he's on video, man.
Yeah.
And it's funny to me that in a medium that's supposed to be like connective, you're supposed to be able to really relate to your host, and you're supposed to be able to have the relationship of sorts with the show that you watch every day. If you're not on video, you can't cultivate that.
I totally agree.
To which I say more credit to Jim for recognizing that. And I'm very curious to see how X treats him because obviously we went through the Tucker Carlson phase when he rolled out to X, and he did a ton of video, and that I imagine was pretty good for him numbers wise. I don't know exactly what he got, but it's just be interesting to see now that a guy who's been in the industry for 35 years or whatever it's been, like, is going to video on a social media platform, how that impacts the industry. Because you can't tell me we're not going to see more people do it now.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt. I think you look at the way, I could have an hours long discussion about what's wrong with sports radio. I mean, invest in talent, train, coach. Everybody needs a coach no matter what you do.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in sales, you need a coach. If you play golf, you need a coach. If you're a talk show host, you need a coach. Like, invest in it, and they don't. It's wild to me. Damian Fowler, Uncle Monty, who's your favorite sports radio host of your lifetime?
That's an impossible
Good
question.
Lord.
Let's separate it. So, like, growing up when you were listening to radio, and then maybe
Kevin
nowadays.
Matthews, probably Kevin Matthews at the Loop in Chicago. Steve Dahl, certainly. We're great talk show hosts, not sports guys. I mean, way back in the day, Peter Brown at WMVP Chicago. Jim Rome, certainly. The day that I got to work for Jim Rome was one of the great days of my radio career. Now, I don't even know. I listen to Dan Bernstein quite a bit on the Score during the day.
But would you agree that you listen to the Score because you just want talk
It's
about
Chicago.
Yeah, it's Chicago.
Yeah. It's not compelling. It's not compelling at all.
I mean, legitimately, I can't even tell you one host where I'm just like, damn, like, I gotta listen to them all the time.
I think Pat McAfee is good during the football season. It's this stuff he does not during football season where he meanders and gets in trouble. And
football's the crutch.
It's hard for me to listen to sports talk shows and they say stuff and you're like, that's just completely not factually accurate. That's not being, it drives me crazy when you're making tens of millions of dollars a year and you won't take the time to prepare.
Yeah.
That drives me crazy.
Cushy job, cushy lifestyle. Won't take the profession seriously.
It drives me crazy. And it's one of the things I respect about Jim Rome so much. The guy, all he does is prepare. That's all he does. And it's hard for me. So I love Pat and then I hate Pat because it's like, I hate guys that'll like go to war with management. Why? Why are you talking about management on your show? I hate that stuff. Talk to me about NFL. Go put on an NFL player.
Mm-hmm.
Go like there is no athlete on the planet who Pat McAfee can't get on his show. Why are you talking about management at ESPN? Oh, it's speaking truth to power. Nobody gives a shit. I'm here to talk about sports and life.
Yeah.
Like that's what I can't get onto. It's why sports radio in Los Angeles, I think, is not very good.
Which is wild.
It's why I think sports radio in San Francisco is a way of life. And yet it's still not very, like I look at 95.7 The Game in San Francisco. They just don't have the budget to compete that they need to compete. Unfortunately, I like the great cities in this country, bro. I worked at a radio station where they're like, hey man, we sold the land under your broadcast tower. So the station's going off the air. And we're closing that deal in about a year.
How?
Like, how? Like, you listen, like, I live in Salt Lake City. There is no sports radio here.
No.
The Ryan Smith radio station is what it is, period. It
and
just
it
is
sucks,
what it is.
dude. I mean, and it's really unfortunate because, you know, we've been saying that for years. And I feel like there's like this, you know, this misguided, you know, love of like, you know, just hearing these boring ass shows every day. And I can't tell you enough, again, not to be repetitive, but when we're getting all these DMs last night about this interview, I'm like, why is this something that people are so fired up about?
Yeah.
It's somebody who's a has-been, is not in the news cycle ever. I never even heard of him.
Nobody knows who Pat Cordell or Pete Cordelli is.
Like,
nobody.
so,
I said Pat Cordelli. Pete Cordelli.
Pat, Pete, who's counting?
You guys don't know who that is.
And yet people are like, oh my God, did you hear that the ACC's cutting down to 8 teams? I'm like, what? Like, and I feel like we get this stuff more and more and more and more in the sports talk realm. And it's why the struggle is so real.
Yeah, totally agree. 100%. Eric and Raleigh, Pat McAfee thinks he is the most important thing on the show because his name is on it. He is the most important thing on the show. I mean, he is so stupidly talented. It's amazing how talented Pat McAfee is.
But as usual, the most talented individuals are also the most high maintenance individuals.
Yeah. Ferris Khan, hello. I'm old enough to remember how ESPN shipped the sports reporters to New York City to talk on Sunday morning, different times now. Yeah, when I worked at ESPN, I used to fly weekends to Bristol and do talk shows. We don't do that anymore. Caps Lock says more radio stations are having cameras in the studio and streaming on YouTube. You have to.
You have to.
You have to.
And I think that, you know, what's amazing to me is like everyone's always like, we get asked probably, I don't know, like 5-6 times a month, probably on average. Like, hey, like what's your guys' setup? Like, how do you have, you know, how's the camera so clean? And like, how does it work? And like, how do you get the comments in? It's like, dude, this isn't rocket science, man. It's not like you're not like solving world hunger here, man. And
radio will not win until the old man at the top of the totem pole is gone. You have to be willing to do things that you don't know how to do. And you have to be willing to pay people to do the things that you don't know how to do or understand.
Mm-hmm.
And radio doesn't want to do that. Radio does not want to do that. Giggity, hello. Harrison Jr. saw what Fanatics did with the MLB uniforms and wants nothing to do with them now.
I mean, can you blame the guy?
And Fanatics announced that they're redoing that.
Because it's garbage.
Steve Summers, talking sports. Steve Summers, that's a name. Eric and Raleigh, the stations are getting what they're willing to pay for. Unprepared hosts with guests who are over their heads entirely. Truth. San Diego State Glenn. Good morning, Glenn. KMBR 680, the sports leader. The Razor and Mr. T. The Razor. Tom Tolbert's still going strong in San Francisco.
It's like, you know what this conversation reminds me of? The San Diego radio market.
Oh my God.
Where you have your signal tower on the other side of the Mexico border, and you've got all these issues that end up shutting down a station, and there's consolidation, and like
there unnamed radio station in San Diego many years ago now, probably 10 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever, asked me to come and do a job interview. Okay, great. I go do the job interview. They're like, hey, we can't wait to have you. You're exactly what we need. Man, this is going to be amazing. Here's $30,000.
What?
30? I thought you said 30 per month? Or what? $30,000 to live in San Diego. A year. Horrendous.
Is that even $1,000? That's not even $1,000 a month.
And that radio station went out of business. After taxes, it's not close to $1,000 a month. It's wild.
Good Lord.
Wild. And this was not that many years ago. So, Mike Smith, I liked the Pat Mack bidded on and won a vehicle live on the air for one of his workers. Yes, he bought a car.
And I think that's the type of thing that Pat and his team are able to do, and they do it very well. And I think that, again, that's the type of stuff that you can have fun with when you're on a video medium. And you're not going to get that in a radio format because you have limited time. And this is the other thing I say about radio, man. Like, maybe we could step away from, hey, we got to have, 4 quarters, 15 minutes, talking and 5 minutes of a break.
And we've got to have old man sports writer that nobody cares about or nobody's heard of until sports radio says we're only going to put on principals, people who play the game or are in control of the game or played the game.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
That's it. Phil Benzer, we need a G5 show only. Can't take this anymore.
Well,
Phil is and I think based on your logo, you are a UNLV fan. I think that or a New Mexico fan, UNLV. The G5 fan is salty these days.
Mm-hmm.
Locked on G5 show. Exactly right. We need a locked on G5 show.
Right.
Tanner Plummer, hello. Sir Bob Lob. Damn it, Smithers. This isn't rocket science. It's brain surgery. Exactly right. Is the San Diego chicken still a thing? Not really. I'm on a Mexican Wahoo radio. The old powerhouse sports radio station in San Diego, their transmitter was on Mexican land. And eventually they lost control of the transmitter, so the station went out of business.
Brutal. Because the signal would go down at night. Yeah.
And it was extra. 690 in San Diego was amazing. That was such a good radio station.
Yeah.
That was extra 690. Exactly. At San Diego, if possible, I would love to retire there. Save your money. Yes, the mighty 690. It was so good. San Diego, you owe me money.
Well, and the vibes with the Padres and it all worked. And
when the Chargers were, playing football in San Diego,
it worked. And I think that it's, I don't know, man. I'm a big believer, and maybe this is why we, left the radio industry. You have to be innovative. You have to be doing things that other people aren't doing.
But look at what happened to podcasting. Podcasting is a thing now. It's not the thing.
No,
it's not the thing. And the problem is it's Brenda and Karen. Well, here's how you make muffins on our podcast that we're going to
next question.
One episode of. And the issue in sports is everybody thinks, and it's all these.
Another thing we get hit about constantly. Well, how do you guys do it, man? How do you do it?
And I think people think it's easy or you can just flip on them, and you can't. And it's why so many podcasts don't work. It's why Locked On is plagued by just shitty content.
Yeah.
Because the Locked On Network was a great idea. David Locke, fantastic.
Conceptually, it's brilliant.
And you let hacks run podcasts who make shit up and don't have, and then you fire a guy who actually, I think, didn't do anything wrong, or not certainly enough to be fired. And then you replace them with people who have no idea what they're doing. It's wild to me. Wild to me. But hey, would you have taken that job in San Diego if they threw a nice box to sleep in on the beach? I probably would have. If you would have said to me, hey, Monty, I just got a new refrigerator. Here's the box.
Now,
and $30,000.
Sleep on the counter, but
Yeah, and if you could stay out of La Jolla. It's a sleepy little beach town. Stay out of La Jolla.
Who are you, Lebowski?
Right? That's what I'm saying. Phil Benzer, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton does a podcast now. Okay, cool. That's cool.
But it's so interesting, the thing about that guy getting fired. At that time, everyone was shocked by that. And I was like, hey man, it's a private business. Like, he's gonna do what he wants to do. But I think it's interesting that old heads who grew up on the golden age of radio want to apply FCC regulations to YouTube. It's like,
it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way, dude.
And everybody always, why do you guys curse so goddamn much? Because I can. Do you curse when you're on the radio? No, you're not allowed to.
Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Like, I don't know why it's so difficult or uncouth. Like, what's the,
Not rocket science, man. San Diego State Glenn, Hacksaw Hamilton on podcast talks about news that's weeks old. Useless and a waste of time.
Well, I think the thing you have to understand too is like, God, I wish we could do politics on this show, because my God, there's so much to talk about. But you can't, because there's obviously a lot of vitriol with those topics. And I think what's difficult is that, again, it comes back to this idea of people think you can just turn this thing on and start talking and that it's easy and no, it's fine. Like, you just do it. Like 2 weeks ago, we did this yard sale or whatever. And we had these two guys who came to the yard sale and talked to us about it. And they're just like, oh yeah, like it's a nice little thing for you guys. And like how much you make. And like people just treat it like it's this casual little thing. And it's not. And I feel like I agree with what you've been saying for at least 2 years now, that this term of endearment turned into a dirty word. Like podcast is a dirty ass
very dirty word
with ad partners and people who spend money on spoken word content, dude.
We talk to people every day. And podcast, the word, hey, you guys host a podcast? We don't. We do a talk show. Because podcast is Jimmy and Fred
sitting in their damn garage.
And it's just a really bad connotation because of stuff like this. All right. Tanner Plummer just looked it up, and Locked On Pac-12 has changed to Locked On College Football. You love to see it. There you go. Religion and politics, two things you can't talk about these days, even at the dinner table.
Well, listen, I think, you can, but you have to understand that, like, if I was going to do a show about politics and religion, I wouldn't read the comments. Probably wouldn't be in the comments section too much.
Never, ever. Phil Venzer, Monty took the KMBR gig because he got comped at the O'Farrell Theater. Okay. Not sure what that's a reference to, but working at KMBR was amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
The city was in a much better place at that time.
Amazing. One of the best gigs I ever had. Wish I had never left. Wet blanket. I don't mind cursing, but say, God damn it, is a big turnoff later. Okay. Cool, Roche. Dude. Tanner Spencer on Locked On in college football is pretty good. Okay. Giggity. God damn it. Wet blanket. Exactly right. Exactly right. Exactly right. All right. The Monty Show, presented by our good friends at PrizePicks, prizepicks.com, the official fantasy partner of the Monty Show, to which now I turn it over to Jake. Wait, let me go ahead, single you up. Go ahead, Jake. Go ahead, buddy.
Don't.
Go ahead. Go for it.
Dude, don't take NHL playoffs on demons. It never works. Evander Kane, you're an embarrassment to the hockey profession.
I'm sorry. I thought you said you took Evander Kane.
Yeah, for one goal, 1 point, assist or score. That's all I need you to do. That's it.
Don't fuck.
And did you get that done even though you were 1 foot outside the crease and should have scored? No, you didn't. You didn't.
So essentially, by taking Evander Kane, you told us that you need
Anita Dick and Ming.
because
That's not what I needed.
Why?
That's
what you got.
Yeah.
Why would you take Evander Kane and do anything? Now, McDeasy, Connor McDavid.
He didn't do anything last night either.
He had one shot on goal. I'm a closeted Edmonton Oilers fan, and one of my favorite players in the NHL is a guy named Leon Draisaitl.
Yeah.
That guy's a stud. I love McDavid. Evander Kane should have had 3 goals last night, a post and one incredible save.
But he knew that 2 holes took him on PrizePicks, so he didn't
take Evander Kane to do anything but be an idiot.
Whatever, dude.
Yet
1 point. That's all I needed out of you, dude. Literally one play.
You should have taken less
in a 60-minute hockey game. It's a demon. You can't take less.
Then don't take it at all. But I love taking it, Monty.
Yeah, it's $20 to win 50. I'm working over here.
PrizePicks at prizepicks.com. Download the app in your app store.
I think we're on baseball today, right?
Yes, we're on baseball today. Use the promo code Monty to get 100% deposit matching. Hit the like button while you're doing that, please, right now on the show. Can I ask real quick, when does Major League Baseball take action against Shohei Otani?
Dude.
Did you guys see this? That Shohei, now you know Ime Ekpe Udoka, his former interpreter, he stole money from me. I had no idea. I don't believe you. Now we get the news that good old Shohei is linked to another gambling scandal in Major League Baseball. And at some point, you're going to have to say this is too coincidental. David Fletcher, the former Angel infielder, now a AAA player in a different organization. One of Shohei Ohtani's best friends in baseball, allegedly placed bets with the same bookmaker that Ime Udoka, whatever the hell his name is, Ekpe Udoka, whatever.
Ipe.
Same thing. So, you know, Shohei's former translator, Ipe, placed bets with a bookie. Now, Shohei's best friend in baseball, allegedly, is not even allegedly, is under investigation for allegedly placing bets with the same bookmaker. I had no idea.
But Otani has no idea about any of this.
I had no idea.
He's a victim.
I was getting Tommy John. I was over here in the surgery suite.
Yeah.
Me.
I mean, they were taking a ligament out of my knee to put it in my arm. I couldn't even move my fingers to place the bet.
At some point, the gambler is going to have to take a suspension.
Oh, you mean at some point the face of Major League Baseball, and no, it's not Paul Skeens yet?
Yet.
You mean the face of Major League Baseball is a gambling addict? Because that's where we're headed here, dude. If this keeps going, if one more guy comes out, I'm telling you, if there is one more person after this, there is absolutely no denying it on any level. And in my opinion, I think there's no denying it now. But for the masses, the deniers, the defenders, right? The people, the unbelievers of Shohei's guilt here.
It's wild.
You're running out of runway here to keep denying it. At some point, this guy knew and knows and is actively engaged at some point.
You're going to have to take action. Pete Rose be damned. You're going to have to take action. The gambler is the face of baseball.
But I even like everyone goes to the Pete Rose angle to compare Otani. And
everybody.
And what I want to say to that is, do you understand how much more money Otani has to work with? How much more resources? How much easier?
Do you understand how in today's world, how much more influence and damage the gambler can do to baseball? Because he plays for the Dodgers. He is unquestionably the best offensive player in the game. and you're doing nothing, even though he has got very close ties. This ain't even 7 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon. You don't know what that is. But I'm telling you, Shohei, how are you you're burying your head in the sand if you think this guy wasn't involved. In my opinion, I don't know how he wouldn't be.
Yeah, I just don't know how you get away from it at this point. Like, okay, cool. One controversy, sweep it under the rug. And everyone pretty much agrees. The pundits, have pretty much said, yeah, Otani's going to get a lot of protection because of who he is in Major League Baseball. But I'm just telling you, at some point, you have to do something because you cannot allow this game to get turned into a game that's abused. Like, I'm a firm believer that every single league that is known to man, whether we're talking pickleball or NHL or baseball, whatever, tennis, ping pong, right?
Tennis.
Everybody is gambling on this sport, even if they play.
Yes.
They are gambling. I believe that.
Okay, so now that we've talked about that, can we talk about what happened in the group chat yesterday? So here on the Monty Show, we have 2 levels of membership. Basic membership gets all your comments read, $1.99 a month. For $10 a month, you get all your comments read, and you get into our members-only Instagram chat, which a lot of times is flame on, right? Like there's some heat in there.
Right.
Yesterday, OG Gary tries to make the argument that the C word is not a bad word.
Yeah.
Like see you next Tuesday, right?
Right. Yeah.
Is not a bad word. Let's make something very clear. It is the worst word. And I don't believe that you should ever say it. Gary's like, oh no, it's no problem. No big deal. What?
Well, it's all, I believe, and I don't mean to misquote, but I do believe he said something to the effect of, well, it's all about how you say it, right? It's all about the tonality and the context. And I'm like, what?
No, I think it's a terrible word. As Tanner Plummer points out, I don't mind cursing. That said, don't follow Gary's example and throw around the C word casually.
Yeah, like what?
Bro, I heard Gary's office loves the C word. So Boss Frog's like, yeah, the C word's fine. Go ahead, bring it into work tomorrow. Throw it out like it's no big deal. Don't do that. Glenn, Jake embraces 2 holes. Tanner tolerates super soaker. I came to terms with the pro rata that we deserve. Who's got next? Mike Smith, Mountain Mama. Shohei secretly in the Yakuza. Do you know what the Yakuza is?
No.
It is the, I believe it's a Chinese mafia.
Okay.
Good luck with that. Sir Bob Lob, you got to know when to fold him, and he clearly does not.
No, he doesn't.
Know when to walk him, know when to strike him. See if it's a pitching reference.
Right.
Oak State James, Otani isn't going to make bets directly, but he is the one making the bets, allegedly. James is another one who's kind of a character on the show.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Everybody hurts sometimes. You don't even know what this is, do you? He has no idea what that is.
I love how that just dawns on you while you're singing it.
Mike Smith, at James, stadium guy who loves barbecue is Shohei Otani's new gambling vessel. Exactly right. Pete Rose is shocked. San Diego State Glenn, MLB, know when to hold him, know when to fold him, signed the ghost of Kenny Rogers. Exactly. Eric and Raleigh, is the best word? What are you talking about? Exactly. It is the best word. No. Listen, I'm an F-bombing guy. I curse. It is what it is. Right? We played golf not well Saturday with a couple of LDS members. And I may have F-bombed once.
That's what fucking ticks me to fuck off. Suckmyass.com.
Man, they were terrible though.
There was a few moments of uncomfortableness, to say the least.
Giggity. Is Gary not here this morning? He was earlier. I do find it funny that you do not hear that and as much in America. However, if you watch a lot of British TV shows, you hear both. Yes, you do. Is he recovering from the Boss Frog beatdown still? Boss Frog, yeah, kind of took Gary to the woodshed. K. Nurin, show some love. Hit the like button. Yes, please. Dude that abides. The dude abides. Aren't things like bad words subjective? They totally are.
Yes, but there's a line, dude. When you're in a group chat, like there's a line, you know.
Yeah, there is. Sir Bob Lob, Japanese Mafia. Okay, my bad. Just saw Gary in the group chat after yesterday. I don't blame him.
Okay, let's open the group chat real quick.
Let's see.
What do we got going on in here?
I don't know. Eric and Raleigh, Shohei Otani is an action junkie. Just like me, only I bet $1 and he bets $100,000. All right, let's see. He's going.
True.
He's going into the bathroom. Are we going to get a bull rattler? I got 100K that says we don't get a bull rattler. Damn, lost. Mike Smith, J2H is not a shiny, happy person holding hands.
I don't know.
God damn it.
What does that mean?
You're self-absorbed. Shiny, happy people. How do you not know? Dakota Tubbs, which gender does a millennial have to be called the C word? Is the answer never, even if there's a fire? I hate that word.
Mm-hmm.
I also don't like calling a woman the B word.
Right.
I think that's completely disrespectful.
Yeah, it is.
UW fan Jim. It's an Aussie thing. My buddy lived over there for a decade and had to break the habit of tossing around the C word. You know, Monty just needs a swearing jar. I don't. I do curse a lot. If you have to look around to see if you're in a certain company to say a word, then you probably shouldn't say it at all. Totally agree.
Agreed.
Do you look down on people that curse though?
I don't look down on people who curse. I again, as usual, I think it depends how you do it and you know, how classy you are with it, because you could be, you know, obviously it looks and comes off different if you're, you know,
on the 7 tee box with 2 LDS members.
Like if you're, you know, if you're, so we're golfing with these 2 LDS folks. This is a good example. And my guy over here, it's a like 2nd tee box or whatever. We're just getting started. You know, pushes one out right or whatever, you know, drops an F-bomb, like, you know, and there's a clear look and then, but they don't really say anything. And then we're walking back to the cart and they're like, wow, man, you got a lot of power in your swing, Monty. Like just to break the awkward silence. So I don't know, man. I think I don't personally look down on people who curse, but I do think that there is a time and a place for it.
The golf course is one of them.
I agree. And there's a time and a place when you shouldn't curse, right? And I think that you have to be respectful of people's wishes depending on the situation. Now, obviously, most of the time, you don't have to worry about it. I mean, it's a free country. You can say what you want. And I guess it also depends on how much you want somebody to enjoy being around you, too.
But the thing that you know what the thing is? I just don't care. And maybe I should.
Yeah, you probably should on some level. With some people, you should.
But who are those some people?
Family most of the time. But
I don't curse a lot around.
No, but my point is you don't curse a lot around family because you don't want to. You're choosing not to.
But it's not a choice for me.
What do you mean it's not a choice?
It's a choice. If I'm on the radio, I'm not going to curse. It's never going to happen. If I'm sitting around at a barbecue, I may use colorful language. It's a motif thing. It's an environmental thing.
Yeah, I agree. It's a mental state thing. If you're on the radio, you're providing a professional service, and as part of that, you can't curse, which is, again, why I say that's what makes the show great, is we can pretty much say whatever we want to say. And I think that that's the beautiful thing about YouTube. But yeah, you probably should care a little more, I would say.
You think I should care more?
I think that it's not a...
When should I care more?
So, like, this round with these 2 LDS folks. So, like, in my opinion... And it's different for everybody. But I think that there's nothing wrong with, you know, F-bombing or cursing when you hit a bad shot, right? Like everybody, and I don't care if you're LDS or not. I've seen LDS. I see almost every weekend. We wind up playing with someone who's LDS. It's a common thing here. They curse. They do.
Yes,
and if that upsets the LDS folks in the chat, sorry.
And I ask usually.
Yeah, and you did ask. That's a great point. That's a great point. He did ask, and they were fine with it. But I think it's like a energy thing, kind of. Some people, and I'm not saying it was those particular LDS people, but there are some people where you can tell like it
Sunday,
really bothers them.
I didn't curse much on Sunday up at Soldier Hollow. We were playing with an older dude, right? Like,
yes, but also, see, this is another good example. When you're with the wife or you're with the girlfriend, probably not going to curse as much.
No.
Probably going to dial that back a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah,
I remember going to Chuckarama in St. George one time. Oh boy. Let me sit upright for this one. Anytime Chuckarama's involved.
Yeah, the all you can eat.
In St. George one time, and there was this old guy that yelled the C word, and there were 3 women screaming at him and eventually got him kicked out. You can't, the C word is no.
Yeah.
Don't refer to your women as a B. I would never call my wife that.
Yeah, that's pretty derogatory.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
You just can't do that. Tanner also says at RSL matches, I don't know what an RSL game is. I think you mean Real Salt Lake, so it would be match. No, okay. My fair share of swearing, you can tell the people who are uncomfortable with it are probably LDS.
And there are some people who are not LDS that are uncomfortable with it. And, again, it's like, when I go to Kansas City to see my girlfriend's folks, that's a non-cursing household. They are, they're not about
How
that
often do you think you curse on the regular?
I don't know. I don't think it's excessive, but a reasonable amount, I would say. Yeah.
I curse a lot, I think.
Yeah, like a reasonable amount, I would say. Like, I would say that I don't F-bomb a lot, but, I think.
You know what the funny thing is? I am going, one of the things that I've been reading about is that emotional outbursts create momentum in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been reading about, because I hold myself to way too high of a standard when I play golf.
Mm-hmm.
And I've really worked on it. I feel like I have gotten significantly better at not being pissed about every shot that I hit.
Uh-huh.
Well, one, I played pretty good golf this weekend. But it's one of those things where I need to control my emotions depending on what I'm doing. So if I'm just sitting around chilling, I am not emotional very often at all.
No, not at all.
If I'm playing golf or playing basketball,
anything competitive.
Yeah.
Anything competitive.
And I have to really work to dial that back. And one of the things I notice is if I hit a bad shot and I curse about it, it's harder for me to rein it back in.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been reading about the emotional triggers of golf in particular is triggering emotionally for competitive people. And that's one of the things I've really worked on. Wait a minute. Hold on. This right here is a conversation. I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't think I've ever been to a Chuckarama. Well, maybe one time with an LDS guy, our old realtor friend.
Oh.
What?
Pete Thamel. Sorry, not to sidetrack everything.
Pete Thamel.
Jaden Rashada.
Oh, God.
Former Florida recruit and current Georgia quarterback.
Yes, who's
suing the Gators, Billy Napier, and a Florida booster for alleged fraud during his recruiting process.
You knew this was coming.
So
this was coming.
And we're going to get back to Chuck Graham in 2 minutes. This is the type of thing I'm talking about. Players are now more empowered than they've ever been to do things this way.
There was quite a bit of controversy around Jaden Rashada and the NIL deal he never signed or got, or did sign but didn't get paid. You knew this was coming. Jaden Rashada has been somewhat of a controversial figure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. And you know what the bigger issue here is? He's never panned out on the field.
Yeah.
He's never panned out on the field. And this thing with Jaden Rashada suing Florida it's unfortunate because I think we'll never know what he is. The lawsuit filed Tuesday includes an allegation that Rashada signed his letter of intent less than an hour after Napier promised the player's father $1 million partial payment that day upon signing. Rashada has never received the $1 million, and the booster never fulfilled the deal, the lawsuit states.
Brutal.
Ooh. Gator boosters and others claiming they defrauded him out of millions of dollars by backing out of a $13.85 million agreement after the quarterback had turned down offers tied to other programs. Oh. Rashada is the first known college athlete to sue his coach or booster due to a dispute in name, image, and likeness. His case, filed in U.S. District Court in the Northern District of Florida, comes during a tumultuous time for the relatively new NIL market.
Yes.
That from ESPN.com. What happens when the kid sucks? That's what this is. We signed an agreement with you. You didn't pay us. We sucked on the field. We transferred. I'm suing you.
It's
Bottom
dirty,
line,
bro.
It is dirty as hell.
So dirty.
It is dirty as hell.
Now, not
Dirty as
nearly
hell.
as dirty as a Chuckarama.
Yeah, let's talk about that. James says, I'm stuck at home sick with the Rona.
Damn, bro. Where did you get the Rona from?
The coronavirus.
I haven't cussed this much in months.
Vexes me.
What kind do you have?
Ooh. Yeah, what do you got going on? Glenn, just stop all the John Brown F-bombs. John Brown is what my grandfather used when he was upset. John Brown. Okay. Cursing is the exclamation point on certain sentences. Use it wisely. Okay. Cursing helps convey your emotions. Okay. G off.
Holy crap, dude. You're alive?
Watch your mouth. I just don't curse around the ladies who are in a group setting where it might make some feel uncomfortable. It's a respect thing. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
Geoff, good to see you, man.
Yeah, dude.
Noel Ramirez, they say intelligent people swear more. Must be true. Mike Smith, while in the military, we were having a company get together and we're playing volleyball. The game came to a screeching halt when the company chaplain let out a string of expletives during play.
I think that's the other part of it is like, so obviously, F-bombing, it's the same word, but can be used in very different ways.
Frickin' A!
Yeah, and I think that it's cursing isn't terrible, but it's how you do it and the vibe with it.
You can't curse at somebody.
You can't curse at somebody, but I also think that you can't get to a place where, like with golf, I hate that sometimes it seems like it ruins it for you. Like there's times when it's like, man, he's, because there's definitely the swings, right? Like, and I'm not saying I'm immune to this. Obviously, I get upset too, but like there's swings with it where you'll go like 3-4 holes and you just like hate the game. And then all of a sudden you magically, swing the right way and you get a better result. And that's the hard part is like, there's not really.
But let's be honest about a couple of things. My golf game has gotten significantly better this year than last year. This year, I have the ability to stop and start over.
Right.
And I now have, I think, an understanding of what I'm trying to accomplish swinging a golf club. But there's no doubt that there are, like Sunday, I hit on the 18th hole. I was pretty upset with myself. The final driver swing was terrible. And that was really unfortunate. I may have dropped an F-bomb. I did. But then I reset and played best ball and hit a pretty decent iron shot. Now it rolled off the green left.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't get upset about that. And I just am more prepared.
Uh-huh.
I'm more prepared. Golf is different. Golf's a terrible example of this. Now, going to Chuckarama and somebody needs to help me understand this. Because Red Lobster's out of business. I haven't eaten at a Red Lobster, thankfully, and Mrs. Monty probably knows more than me, but it's got to be 10 years.
Right.
Now, their biscuits were amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But like Tanner bringing up Chuckarama.
Yeah.
Hell no.
Well, here's the thing.
Absolutely not.
Here's the thing, though, and this is what I think protects brands like Chuckarama. It is, hey, we're playing to families, groups of people with our obviously buffet style dining. And I think that's why buffets continue to survive, because they have people who are coming in and spending money in droves, right? You've got, 10, like how many times you go Chuckarama, you've got like a table of like 40 people in the back and they're all paying.
I don't know. I ain't been to Chuckarama and
like this Red Lobster thing. So Red Lobster, on technicality, they're not out of business yet. They're in Chapter 11 bankruptcy. They say they're going to reorganize their debt and try to figure out a way to move forward, but they're in deep trouble. There's no question about it. They're probably headed towards being out of business. But anyway, here nor there. So it used to be at Red Lobster that they would have a summer special, limited time offering, where you could have unlimited shrimp, right? Bottomless shrimp, as they called it, I think. They turned that into a permanent menu offering because it did so well for them in a seasonality offering. Turning that into a permanent offering is why they're out of business or going out of business. People abused it so much that they were losing money literally on every head that would order that.
okay, but I look at Chuckarama. Chuckarama's $14.75 for lunch.
Yeah.
Is that cheap?
Yes.
Per person?
Yes, that's cheap, because think about it. No,
God
seriously.
damn.
No, seriously. Think about it. $14.75, especially in today's pricing, is cheap when you consider it's a buffet style, all you can eat.
Yeah.
So you can get, 3, 4, 5 plates if you want.
Children are $1.50 per year of age under 11.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's affordable when you start to look at, hey, like,
That just seems like so much money.
I don't know why. What
Does it excite you to eat at a buffet?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm not a buffet guy. Buffets are much more of a.
Do you remember the one in Phoenix? You Like Buffet?
Yeah.
I'm not
Huge.
I'm not getting Chinese food at You Like Buffet, but it was always
The
packed.
only time I ever really frequent a buffet is when we're in Vegas. There are times where we go to buffets, like the Mandalay buffet is really nice.
I wanted to go this last time and we couldn't get there.
Yeah. And, so like those buffets are cool, but not really. And it's kind of like what you said, I think last week, like we're just not eating out as much. And so I think it's this thing where, we're the problem is the price of eating out has gotten to a point where it's justifying making better food at home, because you can make better food at home for less money. So like I can go,
I agree.
It's like the old Five Guys thing, right? Like I can go and spend $40 for 3 at Five Guys, or I could spend $40 at the store and that probably feeds me for like 5 days. And that's the problem, is like,
Totally agree.
And so when I look at like Red Lobster,
Does it upset you Red Lobster's going out of business?
No, I was never the Red Lobster thing. I never got onto that train. I don't remember. If I couldn't tell you the last time I had Red Lobster. I've probably been to one at one point in my life, but I couldn't tell you when.
I'm a huge fan of all you can eat shrimp. Yes. Their cheddar biscuits. Yes. I can't tell you what else they do at Red Lobster. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not upset about it. Like, I can't think of a restaurant, if it goes out of business, I'm like, damn, my life sucks. Mastro's in Las Vegas, maybe. Right.
That would hugely affect my willingness to go to Vegas.
Taco Surf in Los Angeles, Southern California, that would upset me.
Right.
I go once every 5 years, it feels like. But I can't legitimately think, maybe Red Iguana in Salt Lake City.
Right.
I love that place.
Mhm.
Haven't been in probably 8 months, 6, 8, 10 months.
But look at like at Fashion Place, the Cheesecake Factory there is always printing. That place is always full.
Mrs.
bro.
Monty and I were at Fashion Place in Murray, and she said if it wasn't banana, can I ask who the fuck keeps going to the mall?
Okay, again.
I'm serious.
See, that's a good example of how to curse right there.
I didn't even cross my mind. Who goes to the mall? And can you not go to the mall when Mrs. Monty brings up the idea and the concept of going to Cheesecake Factory? Please? Like, it is wild to me. Like, oh, Monty, bro, this economy, we're in real trouble. Somebody forgot to tell the people at the goddamn mall that there's a recession. Because the parking lot is full. Right? Like, what are you serious?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't go to the mall much. No, I don't.
You're the one who doesn't go to the mall.
Yeah, I'm not a big mall
Because
guy.
everybody else goes to the mall.
I was a huge mall guy when Foot Locker was getting Nike.
Yeah, but you're
constantly.
the a-holes just like, oh, but bro, Target? Whoa, no.
No, okay. See,
Man, can I go get some Reese's peanut butter cups? Let's go to Target.
Okay, yeah.
Because maybe I can get a plastic spatula and a string of Magnums. Now we're cooking with gas.
Yeah.
You ever have Magnums and combine that with a plastic spatula?
Yeah, I know what time it is.
Yeah. Now we're talking about going to Target. You want the Target? I don't go to the mall, but Target?
Hugh Janus.
Tell me I'm wrong. Yeah, you are. You're wrong.
Yeah, I don't know what condoms and spatulas have to do with anything, but
Exactly. Thank you.
Here I am.
Exactly. My point is, the mall was packed the other day,
yeah.
and I would have given anything.
But the days of Foot Locker being totally stocked with Jordans and Cobes and,
It's over.
like
House of Hoops.
Yeah, dude. Like that used to be the jam, man. Like there was one we went to up in Hollywood.
Century City.
That was just a massive House of Hoops that was stacked.
They took us in the back of House of Hoops one time, and there was just a whole row of size 15 shoes.
Stay hard.
It was amazing.
But like at that time, it was because obviously size 15 is an off size, right? Like most people wear like 8 or 9 or 10.
Yeah, yep.
So when you wear size 15, they do have selection, but it's more limited. So because they don't have as many people coming in with that size. So that's an unforgettable thing when we got to go and do that. And got
them Bruce Lee Kobe's.
Dude, it's so frustrating that everything is digital now, because there is something to being able to go to the store and like feel the shoe and try it on. And
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah, totally agree.
But no,
I don't go
I'm
to the
not.
mall.
I'm not frequenting buffets. And if I was to go to Chuckarama, I'm probably not going to drop a bunch of C bombs.
I'm never going to Chuckarama. What's the other one? Not Chuckarama, but
Golden Corral.
Golden Corral. David Corral.
What do you think about Cracker Barrel?
No, hell no. We went to Cracker Barrel last year in the Jeezy. I'm out. It's what we talked about yesterday. I know what that food does. We went to the grocery store last night, right? Couldn't golf because it was raining.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at lunch meat, and I want nothing but medium rare London broil. Cut a pound of that. And then I'm like, your colon's going to be pissed. So I wound up getting lemon pepper chicken instead. Right? It's one of those things where then we come home and we make 93.7 or whatever it was ground turkey and fire up some raw tortillas, bake them up on the stovetop, and have a bomb tacos. That's better food than Chuckarama.
Yeah.
And like, as far as restaurants going out of business, I don't know of a restaurant that would upset me if it went out of business.
Mastro's in Vegas would upset me.
That and
would
Red
be
Iguana are
disappointing.
probably the ones.
Yeah, that would be really, really. Because again, that's one of the main reasons I go to Vegas. Because again, there's not a Mastro's here in Salt Lake, so you can only get it in LA, Vegas, or Scottsdale.
Yes.
And that's.
Yep, totally agree.
Yeah.
Eric and Raleigh, RL went bankrupt because the private equity firm that bought it sold the land under the restaurants and then jacked up the lease prices. There you go. Rick Forster, I buy everything online. My man. The only thing I don't like, Mrs. Monty got all of her golf clubs reshafted. So had to go to the PGA Superstore for that.
Which they've been giving you a pretty good experience.
Yeah, great. Guy called me yesterday. Was like, hey, clubs will be ready tomorrow at 5:00. Cool. But again, not because they're our official golf course. I get an experience level at Canyons Golf that I don't get at Mountain Dell.
Mm-hmm.
I get zero service at Canyons. I get incredible service.
Yeah.
Great carts. Darren Ingram, great teaching professional.
Always show up to grab your bag from the car.
Always loading my bags onto the cart.
Always make sure there's ice in the cooler.
Can store my clubs there. I want service. And I don't get that service. At the clothing store I shop at in Murray, DXL, I know the guy at DXL. He always gives me great service. Got a great pink polo shirt there the other day for golf. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I want better service. I don't get that at 9 out of 10 restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
You just aren't going to get that. Yet it's why I don't eat at Wendy's anymore, because you can't get service there, and it's terrible for you.
Yeah.
But, I did like their Cajun salmon filet. Never had it. Cafe Coyote going out of business would break my soul.
Yeah, see, that's another one. And I haven't been there in how long, but that's
in
a
San
spot.
Diego.
Yeah,
Old
that's
Town.
a spot.
The best buffet I've ever been to was the buffet in Cancun.
Okay, so that's a fair point. So if I'm on vacation, right, and it's warm and sunny, and we're doing breakfast buffet with mimosas, I'm down for that. I'm cool with that. That's different. But you're not going to catch me. It's going to be tough to get me to go to a buffet for dinner, dude. It's just never been my thing. Even for lunch, it's never really been my thing.
No, I'm not going to Chuckarama. I'm not. It's just not going to happen. Jeff, Geoff, seafood buffets in California and Florida are life-changing. I'd be upset if I couldn't do those while on vacation.
See?
Well,
So again, when you're on
I don't hate
vacation,
that.
it's kind of the vibe, right? You want to go and you want to experience really good food, and
yeah.
it's like it's like the all those shops in Lahaina that burned down. Like I was more
Yes.
upset about those
Yes.
than I was about any type of restaurant.
Yep. I agree. 30 days in the cooler. Signed Colonel Klink. Exactly right.
Okay.
Exactly right. All right. I think that's it. On the clock today.
Okay.
On the clock today. Don't forget Canyons Golf, the official golf course of the Monty program.
Hey, Monty.
Opening on Friday.
Yes.
Who's coming up to Canyons with us this weekend?
DM us.
Let's go. Get on it. Can't wait. Canyons Golf, I'm telling you, it's amazing. Super stoked. Don't forget the Monty Show, as always, presented by The Advocates. TheAdvocates.com, the best injury attorneys in the business, where you never pay a penny out of pocket to work with an injury attorney who's going to tell you exactly what you need to do. Because the advocates have seen it all. They've won every case. They've seen every situation. You get hurt at work. You get hit while you're riding your bike. You get in a car accident. You get hit by a big rig. Dude, don't trust your insurance company. They're in business for themselves. Trust somebody that's going to fight for you. You need an advocate at theadvocates.com. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.